Now, Douglas, I can't wait to get your take on this bizarre interaction involving the BBC Chairman Samir Shah, who is asked whether Hamas are terrorists. Now, much frivolity and squirming and giggling follows.
One last question, just for you as an individual, Samir. Do you consider Hamas to be a terrorist group?
I have to answer that in terms of the way we currently view it.
What do you think they are? Do you think they're a convocation of happy little squirrels?
I don't think that. But I'm here as a chairman of the BBC.
I know you are, but
I'm
you're
not
also
here
as Samir Shah. You exist as an individual entity.
I can tell you what I think when I'm Samir Shah. Right now, talking to the world, I am the chairman of the BBC, and we have taken the view as a board that we continue to use the word terrorist only with attribution. That's the position we take.
I think
Although...
I think you think they're terrorists, Samir.
Douglas, if he thinks they're terrorists, then why doesn't he say so? I would hardly think it's a controversial opinion.
Isn't it bizarre, Rita? I mean, it's not hard to call Hamas terrorists, not just because they are, but because they're designated as such in the UK and most other Western countries. I mean, what's so difficult about that? I think really what we see there, I couldn't quite believe the sort of jolly squirming of Samir Shah on that. I mean, you know, he's talking about people who have been busily murdering other Palestinians in recent days, and who, of course, for years have tried to commit genocide against the Jewish people and say they want to wipe the Jewish people off the face of the earth and everyone else next. Now, I mean, I can't see why any of that is such a sort of squirmingly funny matter to Samir Shah. I'd like to see him laugh his way through an interview about any other genocidal group that wanted to wipe out any organization or group of people from the face of the earth. It's very, very strange behavior. All I can think of is that Samir Shah, the chairman of the BBC, is trying to squirm out of that because he's aware of the number of his colleagues or employees underneath him at the BBC who think that Hamas is some kind of liberationist movement who shouldn't be smeared with the terrorist label. And that if he, Samir Shah, is too strict about saying that Hamas are terrorists, then he'll have hell to pay from the newsroom floor and from junior reporters and junior editors and so on. It's really quite despicable. It's not a difficult one, that, at all. But yes, I mean, it tells us about what he's swimming in at the BBC, that is a difficult question to answer. You know, I'd love to see him do it on any other group, as I say. I mean, I don't know if he finds Al-Qaeda as chortlingly funny as he does Hamas or ISIS or anyone else. But it tells you an awful lot about the way in which the BBC just contorts itself on these really quite straightforward questions. But yeah, I completely recognize the thing he's swimming in. It's a newsroom and an organization that finds it incredibly hard to actually call Hamas what they call themselves.
The BBC has contributed massively to the rise in anti-Semitism in this country, and to the precarious position in which the Jewish community in this country now finds itself. For a lot of people who aren't that close to this issue, it might sound like an astonishing thing to say, but you know, it's borne out by the evidence. From day one, the BBC has bought in to the Hamas narrative in this conflict. It has shown no due diligence over casualty numbers, over and over again repeating the figures that are produced by Hamas themselves. You know, and why shouldn't we believe the figures produced by a barbaric, genocidal terrorist organization? And it's gone on from there. And what's really instructive, I think, is that over an 18-month conflict, a very difficult war for everybody, you would expect there to be errors in reporting. But over 18 months, you would expect them to balance out. They don't.
No.
They are all errors in favor of Hamas. And it is very clear that the BBC is not delivering unbiased, balanced reporting on a very important subject to its viewers, it has taken a side.
Yeah, and as you say, since the beginning of this, they had taken a side, and that can only be a deliberate choice that they made. And by way of an explanation, perhaps, have a look at this. You've probably seen it at the weekend. New BBC Chairman Samir Shah, who appeared on Rod Liddell's show on Times Radio at the weekend, he was asked if he thought Hamas were a terrorist organisation.
Do you consider Hamas to be a terrorist group?
I'll have to answer that in terms of the way we currently view it.
What do you think they are? Do you think they're a convocation of happy little squirrels?
I don't think that. But I'm here as the chairman of the BBC.
I know you are, but
I'm
you're
not
also
here
as
as
Samir Shah. You exist as an individual entity.
I can tell you what I think when I'm Samir Shah. Right now, talking to the world, I am the chairman of the BBC, and we have taken the view as a board that we continue to use the word terrorist only with attribution. That's the position we take.
I find that quite extraordinary, don't you?
Well, to paraphrase, we refuse to state the blindingly obvious.
Yeah.
And you have to ask the question, and we don't know the answer. If he was sitting there being interviewed about, let's say, national action,
right,
the now banned neo-Nazi terrorist group,
yeah,
would he be taking the same line?
right.
I think the BBC have backed themselves into a corner over that one and find it very difficult to get out of it.
Yes, but he could still have answered in a way which would be normal, which these people don't seem to be able to do. He could have said, look, I think they are terrorists. I would personally call them terrorists, but the BBC has taken a decision editorially to attribute that phrase. He could have said that, but he didn't.
No, and I think there have been cases, and they've been highlighted when they happen. They have happened over the last 18 months when the BBC have called other organisations terrorists. Right. Now, whether it was a slip of the keyboard or we don't know, right, but it has happened.
And meanwhile, he also says that they're going to look into the Arabic service. He says, we're looking at it, we've been examining it. I think this whole business of how we covered Israel, Gaza, is a proper thing to examine thoroughly. You know, BBC Arabic, the service, has been in trouble since October the 7th, when it became very clear that quite a few of their journalists were in open support on social media of the Hamas invasion of Israel.
Well, look, Mike, I have been doing this with CAA for almost 10 years, and we have been calling out BBC Arabic for the entirety of that time. I mean, the most recent example is just shocking. A regular reporter for BBC Arabic calling last month for Jews to be burned as Hitler did in 2022, which was obviously before the 7th of October 2023. He posted on Facebook, when things go awry for us, shoot the Jews. It fixes everything. And over time, he's endorsed over 30 terrorist attacks on Israeli citizens in Israel. This isn't a one-off. It's endemic. And the fact that the BBC are only just waking up to the fact that it's a problem just speaks to the BBC's attitude in general over this. And the worrying thing, again, is, you know, it should not mark its own homework.
It really shouldn't.
There should be an independent inquiry into what on earth is going at the BBC.
Yes.
Why has it been allowed to continue to contribute to putting the Jewish community at risk in this country?